Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashy Business Show. Today is Monday, July 14th, 2025 and I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Ward Ahmed, and we've got a packed show for you today. Firstly, Syria has signed an $800 million port deal with UAE's DP World, and Saudi Arabia may buy Huawei chips as Chinese tech giant eyes a Middle East expansion. Cairo's Gameball has doubled its 2024 revenue in just 6 months, and Lebanon is betting on Gulf tourists to revive its economy amid crisis and conflict fears.
And the very first story is Syria. And they have signed a major $800 million deal with Dubai-based DP World to redevelop the port of Tartous. A move officials say is key to the country's post-war recovery. The agreement was signed in Damascus, as Worth calls it, Damashq, on Sunday in the presence of Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara, according to Syria's state news agency SANA.
DP World, which operates dozens of ports worldwide, will now take the lead in modernizing Tartous, one of Syria's most strategic maritime assets. Now, the port, located on the country's western coast, is expected to become a central hub for trade and exports. Now, DP World CEO Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem said Syria possesses valuable assets and emphasized the port's potential to revive local industry.
This deal also marks one of the most high-profile foreign investments in Syria since the fall of former President Bashar al-Assad in December last year. The new Syrian leadership has been actively pursuing economic partnerships aiming to reintegrate the country into global trade networks.
Now, Qutayba Badawi, head of Syria's Ports Authority, called the agreement a foundation for a new era of maritime development. Now, it follows other key deals, including a 30-year port management agreement with France's CMA, CGM, and a $7 billion energy contract with firms from Qatar, Turkey, and the U.S.
And the port deal also comes after the U.S. lifted several long-standing sanctions on Syria, easing restrictions on companies involved in rebuilding efforts. Washington says the move aims to support Syria's reconstruction after over a decade of war and isolation. And Ward always says that, Middle East is not helping. I'm just kidding. But
when did I say that? Magic, why are you
always say that
about
Africa. But the main thing is we saw Saudi Arabia jump in, we saw Qatar jump in, and now this is a big move coming from UAE. Obviously, DP World is under UAE government. It was privatized, but now still it's semi-private and it's semi-government owned. And it's really nice to see that everyone is contributing. It's not just Saudi and Qatar. UAE has also jumped in. It's a very nice seat. $800 million is not a small amount when you talk about Syria specifically. Because if you will remember, we did a story about Syrian public servants, the public sector employees, their pay raise. And it was really surprising that their pay was raised from $25. I will repeat it so you don't think that I'm saying something wrong. Their salaries are $25 per month, and it has risen to $75 now, thanks to Qatar and Saudi Arabia contributing to their salaries. It was Qatar in the start. They said they'll contribute to the salary, but then Saudi Arabia also jumped in. So
that is so interesting, Majid, because I read somewhere that they gave them billions of dollars so that they could actually, so that the Syrian government can pay its civil servants their salaries, and the fact that that has become $70 with the fact that Qatar has given them millions of dollars to do so. I think that's so interesting. But, just to go into this port, the reason why this port is so interesting is because it's technically connecting Asia, it's connecting Europe, and it's connecting Africa together. It's a very significant port. And when I was researching it, it has an even more interesting history. So at some point, it was under the Ottoman Empire. And then at some point, it was attacked by British forces. And if you know Western people, if they're attacking something, they're trying to colonize it, then it's very valuable. And then at some point, Russia basically signed this 49-year agreement, this lease with Syria. But when Ahmed al-Shara came in, the entire agreement was dropped. So the fact that you have this many players that are trying to enter this port and take a hold of it, this is telling you how valuable it is. And I think that the UAE did it in a very strategic way, much so than much so than a political takeover. They did it in classic business, and that is to sign a deal with one of the best UAE companies, DP World. So I think it will be very interesting to see.
Yeah. And the next topic for today is Saudi Arabia. We're going to our neighbors. Saudi Arabia is reportedly open to importing microchips from Chinese tech giant Huawei, a move that could bypass US restrictions on advanced chip technology. Discussions are said to be underway over Huawei's older generation Ascend 910B processors, with talks between the company and Saudi officials described as advanced, according to sources cited by Bloomberg.
Now, if a deal moves forward, it would mark a deepening of the tech relationship between Huawei and Saudi Arabia. Now, the company's cloud business has been rapidly expanding in the kingdom, and Saudi Arabia's Data and AI Authority is reportedly among the potential buyers. Now, the chips in question are less advanced than those made by US companies like NVIDIA, but still play a role in AI development.
And meanwhile, the UAE has taken a different approach. Officials in Abu Dhabi have reportedly distanced themselves from Huawei in recent months in a strategic effort to gain access to more advanced American-made chips. Entities such as Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence have not shown public interest in Huawei's offerings.
Now, the UAE is actively lobbying Washington to lift restrictions and allow large-scale imports of cutting-edge NVIDIA chips. Now, this includes high-level engagements by UAE leadership to reassure the U.S. of its alignment with Western tech and security interests.
And despite public optimism, the US Commerce Department has yet to approve any shipments under recent Gulf AI deals. For now, Saudi Arabia's openness to Huawei marks a key divergence in chip strategy between the region's two leading tech hubs. The problem was that as Mr. Biden was leaving and Mr. Trump was coming, Mr. Biden introduced a law, a very simple short summary, that he categorized all the countries into three categories. Top one was Japan, Norway, Sweden, and 4 or 5 countries. They had unlimited access to chips. They could buy as many as they want. Second was Saudi, UAE, all the Middle Eastern countries, all the Middle Eastern friends that Trump had. But apparently they had a very limited amount which they could buy, not more than that. And then third category was completely banned. Iran and all the countries that we know they have sanctions on. Syria was also in that list. But then a lot of things happened. His Highness Sheikh Tanoon went to the US. He was in Washington. He met Trump. Then Trump came here. And finally we saw that the US and UAE announced a big AI campus. Saudi Arabia announced $600 billion investment.
But, Majid, you know what? Saudi here is doing something extremely strategic.
Yeah.
They're already friends with Jensen Huang. You know, they've already started an entire partnership with them between Humane, Saudi Arabia's new artificial intelligence company, and NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is going to give them, I believe, 18,000 chips. And even more interestingly, Tariq Amin, the CEO that is heading Humane right now, exclusively told Smashy Business that NVIDIA is relocating teams, NVIDIA and AMD are relocating teams to Saudi Arabia. So, you know, that there might reach a point where NVIDIA chips, Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, they might not even have to request them from the US because they will be made here. And I do see that happening. And I think what's so interesting is you see Saudi, they're completely not intimidated by US foreign policy.
Yeah.
They do not mind working with everyone. They'll work with Jensen Huang himself. You know, his company is the first company to be valued at over $4 trillion. And they'll also work with China.
Yeah.
So I think fair play to them. But Majid, I was just reading something here, and apparently in 2018 there was this case of Canada arresting Huawei's global chief financial officer in Vancouver. And I think when you take a look at the West, whenever something like this happens, that's an excuse for them to be like, okay, to the other countries, you guys are not allowed to work with them. But like, funny enough, you know, when I think about Huawei, they had this really big case, Majid. This it was this big campaign that they did with this extremely famous actress. You might know her. Her name is Gal Gadot. She played Superwoman. She was a former IDF soldier. She's an Israeli actress. And basically, she was the global ambassador of Huawei. And I'll tell you what happened. Back at that time, Majid, when X was Twitter,
Yeah.
Twitter does this thing where if you tweet something, it tells the people where you tweeted it from. And she basically went on Twitter and she was like, "Hi guys, like I'm using my blah 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 Huawei phone." And you know what the tweet said? Tweeted from my iPhone. Can you imagine that? Can you honestly imagine that? Like paying an actress so much money, paying her so much money so that she could advertise your new phone. And then she goes on Twitter and she writes that, and then everyone knows that you're using a Huawei phone, but you're tweeting from an iPhone. I mean, and I remember how much of how famous it was back at that time. But at the same time, you can't blame her. It wasn't.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think anybody knew that Twitter does that. I don't think anybody was aware of that.
I think Apple, all applications have this thing. I won't call it a problem. It's a thing. It's a feature.
Really?
But whenever someone replies from their phone to an email, it always says, sent from my iPhone, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, this person is busy or replying from the phone. But it happens to a lot of apps when you're directly using Apple and doing it. But you can turn it off. It's an option that you can turn off. She forgot to, and it created such a big
I don't
problem.
think you can blame her because I don't think anyone told her.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
But big celebrities, I've realized there's this form of marketing, testimonial marketing, where you bring on a big celebrity and say, oh, I use this, I use that, I do this. I think it's dying now. It's more towards influencers now because celebrities charge you a lot of money and people now want influencers more.
They charge you a lot of money too.
Yeah, but to be honest, even right now with such a big influencer economy, they're not charging you the amount that Gal Gadot or the new Superman or Batman or anyone, any actor would charge you. So it's a very nice deal. Also, they have a better reach. Because an actor would put something on their feed, they will have 25 million followers. But people come on an actor's account, Instagram, X, wherever, to watch them, to know about them. They don't want to come to a sponsored thing. But as an influencer, if you're telling your audience, oh, I'm using this and this is the reason I use this, people have a better connection because they can see that influencer sometimes walking around on the road. Finding these actors is not that easy. You have to go to LA, you have to go to some place where they live, which is very impossible. So there is this connection with influencer, and that is why all the big brands try to market to them. But still, you can't blame Rolex for putting Federer because, again, he's the Wimbledon champion. So it works. Even now, testimonials work, but not that much. Now it's more influencers.
You know what this honestly makes me think of, Majid? It's like the people that you hire in your company, honestly, you do need to make sure that they use your product. Because if you think about it, like the CEO, the founder, they made the product because they love it. They really believe in it. But the directors that they hire, they're just meant to ensure that everything is successful. I remember, Majid, I did this really goofy thing. I had met the head of, the head of Snapchat Middle East. And I remember when I was talking to them, I looked at their age and I'm like, do you actually use Snapchat? That was a question. That was a goofy question that I asked. And I remember him responding and going like, of course, I have to be using Snapchat. Keyword, I have to. But anyways, it was just so hilarious to me. Maybe it's not the best question to ask, but like honestly, like you need to make sure that somebody really does love your product more so than, just being a part of the company, because if they really do use the product, and I think this comes across all industries, even in the media, you should know the media even if you're not just a writer. Whether you're in other departments, you should always know how it really does work because you'll do your job better. But just speaking of doing your job better, Cairo-based startup Gameball has posted record-breaking results for Q2 2025, nearly doubling its entire 2024 revenue in just the first half of this year. Now that's according to CEO Ahmed Khairi, who described the figures as a major inflection point in the company's growth trajectory.
And in an even more striking data point, Khairi revealed that Gameball's Q2 revenue alone has exceeded the company's total earnings from 2020, 2021, and 2022 combined. The numbers reflect growing demand for its customer engagement and loyalty platform and a broader shift towards homegrown SaaS solutions, software as a service solutions, in the Middle East.
And Khairi also emphasized Gameball's leading position in the MENA SaaS space. He said only Instabug matches Gameball's global scale within the product-led growth or PLG model, a go-to-market strategy increasingly favored by software startups.
And Gameball isn't stopping there. The company is now moving beyond PLG and ramping up its enterprise strategy, aiming to serve large-scale clients across sectors. Harry says this pivot could bring about a level of SaaS scalability that the region has yet to see.
Now, with soaring growth, a clear enterprise roadmap, and regional dominance in its sights, Gameball is positioning itself not just as a MENA success story, but as a global SaaS player to watch. When I was taking a look at this, Majid, did you notice how, even though he told us, like, oh, in 6 months, our revenue doubled, we did not see a single number? Did you notice that? We did not see a single number. There was no numbers there. It was just XYZ happened in Q1, Q2. And it brings me to my question of, do you think that companies should be giving us their numbers? Do you think that we have a right to that transparency?
Yes. Because we do it. At Augustus Media, we always publish our Q1, H1, then Q3, and eventually the yearly report. Last year, everyone knows, if you go to Augustus Media LinkedIn, you'll see our whole financial report. We're not listed, we're not publicly listed, we're not on any stock exchange, but it's a very good move by our founder that I've realized. It's not necessary, it's optional, obviously. We're not saying that we do it, so everyone should do it.
But why do you think
it's a good sign of faith that you show in your audience, in the people that follow you. You tell them that this is what we've done. It shows the strength of your company also. Also, it shows growth to the people. For example, if my advertisers or the companies that I work with as Augustus Media, if they see that I went from 10 million revenue to 12 million revenue in 1 year, they will realize that whatever I am doing, whatever services I'm providing, they actually work. It shows you that if the company is growing, there is something good that they're doing. There is something like useful, which has utility that they're providing to the people. If I'm not growing, that means my company is not doing something new every year, or not doing, or my services are not evolving. That is why the progress is stagnant. So this year, hopefully, we're trying to go for a bigger number. That's for finance and Rich to decide.
Imagine.
But growth. It shows growth to the people that we are growing.
That is true, but for me, I think the reason why I think that companies should be extremely transparent and that they should actually give us not just their numbers, no, give us the financial statements. That's what we want. It's because of the fact of, you guys would honestly not believe how much a financial statement can tell you. Even if a company is in profit, these numbers, they can be misleading. They can be extremely misleading. You should not just go all the way down to the last number and think to yourself, okay, this is their profit, moving on. Nope, you need to look at their inventory. Is their inventory moving out? Is it actually leaving the company? Is it being sold? Another factor that you need to take a look at
That's mostly for retail brands, right?
Yes, but there's also something else that can signify a lot. Is a company selling its non-current assets? Is it selling its land? Usually when companies are selling their land, they're selling their assets, that is actually signifying that they need to make up for certain losses, because a company selling that's like its last resort. So that is something else that you need to take a look at. So for me, I think as an accounting and finance student, that is always something that I do think about. I think that it shouldn't just be publicly listed companies that are giving us their financial statements. I think it's important for transparency. And do you just remember what that Israeli businessman did with that company WeWork? I believe his name is Adam Newman. Remember how?
There was a big.
Yeah, it was such a big story because of the fact that his company WeWork, it was a unicorn. It was valued.
So,
do you remember the number, Majid?
Not exactly the numbers, but the main story is that they went to list it on a stock exchange. And as soon as they listed, a lot of financials obviously then became public, and a lot of money embezzlement was seen, that it was moved from here to there without approvals or without company approvals. But so it actually collapsed as soon as it went public, a lot of people invested a lot of money in it because to be honest, I'll give you an example, but it may sound weird, but think of Adam Newman as the Elon Musk of his time. Everyone believed in his genius, that he's created something which is too big.
There's
Elon
a
Musk
movie
is
on
too
it,
big.
by the way, with Anne Hathaway.
Yeah. So that's the idea. That's what happened. But with Elon Musk, obviously his finances are in place. He's burning $1 billion to run XAI and Grok every month. But again, he has the money to back it. With Adam Newman, that was the problem. As soon as it listed, the financial statements came out. Everyone was like, "What is this? He lied to us." So yeah, now, but he has started a new startup, Flow, which is like a cohabitats kind of a place where you can live together. You can
kind of reminds
rent
me of
the
this
place.
venture called Hive that actually exists
there's a lot
here.
of things
but
here.
you know, Majid, it's so interesting because even after the entire debacle that happened with WeWork, Silicon Valley still believes in Adam Newman.
Yeah.
I mean, when he started his venture Flow, he started it in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. Andrew Horowitz, I'm not sure if I'm saying that name right, but I believe that he gave him
Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, yeah.
he gave him $300 million, which apparently, after 6 months of launch for Flow, it's already valued at over $1 billion, making it a unicorn. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the coming months. Adam Newman is still kicking and alive and doing great. His net worth is believed to be at over $2 billion.
Yeah, Gameball did good, but Augustus Media also did good. I was just looking at the post, trying to find it. Our H1 results across our offices. Saudi, we have an office in Saudi, we have an office in UAE. This is the office in UAE. Egypt and Qatar, we have actually 4 offices, 4 presences. So our total gross revenue was $6.92 million. That was 28% up year on year. So good. We did good in the first half of 2025.
You're such a proud dad,
Yeah,
Majid.
net revenue was $5.54 million. That's plus 30% year on year. So first half was plus 30% compared to last year's first half. Total expenses were also a little up, it plus 29%. But net costs were also actually up because we are investing so much. One of the brands that we invest a lot on is Smashy Sports. You can watch the Smashy Sports show today. It's Monday and Friday. But we're trying to build a platform for all the local sports and all the local heroes of football, netball, handball, all the sports. There's a 30% discount on Smashy Sports if you want to get a yearly subscription. You can find Smashy Sports on Instagram. Just go to smashy.tv. You can subscribe to our yearly plan and get all the games from this region. There's a MENA Cup. There's a Emirates Drift Championship that we do. My producers can maybe tell me more what else we do on Smashy Sports. But handball, netball, all these things I remember. We're the official sponsorships, the jersey sponsorships of the UAE national basketball team. You can see our logo on there, Smashy Sports. So we're trying to build that. That is why there's a lot of costs are involved. And then operating profit was $1.39 million. That was also 36% up year on year. So all these numbers show you growth, that whatever we're getting, we're not just sitting on it and be like, okay, increase the profit. We're also reinvesting a lot of money into things, into building other things. So yeah, not only Gameball, Augustus Media as a whole, which has Lovin and Smashy brands, is also growing.
Yes,
But
it
yeah,
is.
last story of the day.
Lebanon is turning to Gulf tourists in a high-stakes bid to revive its collapsing economy. Now, we all know the fact that there are a lot of people in Lebanon that are struggling to get their money back from the banks. Now, with the UAE and Kuwait lifting travel bans and Saudi Arabia possibly following, Beirut is hoping for a luxury tourism comeback to offset years of financial turmoil, political paralysis, and regional conflict.
And the Lebanese pound has lost over 90% of its value since 2019, and GDP has shrunk by nearly 40%. Yet in upscale areas like Gemaze and Mar Mikhail, private investors are fueling a dollar-based tourism economy, propping up beach clubs, lounges, and festivals aimed at affluent Gulf travelers.
Now, Tourism Minister Laura Lahoud says the sector is essential to rebuilding Lebanon's reputation and economy. She remains hopeful that a fragile Iran-Israel ceasefire will hold, allowing the summer season to continue. However, recent regional tensions have already caused some hotel and flight cancellations.
And economists warn this model is fragile. The tourism boom is pricing out locals and relies heavily on the private sector with limited state support. Others point to a staffing crisis and rising concerns over safety, especially among international artists and nightlife workers.
Now, hotel occupancy is nearing 80% and flights are packed, but experts say true recovery depends on political stability and long-term investment. For now, Lebanon is dancing on a tightrope with Gulf money keeping the lights on and the music playing, at least for now. This is a quote. I think what's so interesting about this, Majid, is for the first time that we have ever seen this, much more than the fact that Lebanon is trying to shake hands with the Gulf. We saw how recently President Aoun, the newly elected president, he visited Abu Dhabi, I believe. The entire world wants to be friends with the Gulf. I think that this is a trend that we're seeing, and inshallah,
the money is, that is where the people go.
And inshallah soon Saudi Arabia will allow its people to travel to Lebanon.
I think the talk about having a sustainable environment or a safe and secure environment is very important, because personally, from experience, from talking to people who are Lebanese here, we have Sally, she was recently in Lebanon, and I talk to these people, and when I say that, how is Lebanon? When I go, how will I find it? They're like, you love the party there, you love the nightlife, it's such a nice place, there's so much cultural things to do, and then there's so much party to do. It's called the party capital of the Middle East. I think it was called something of the Middle East also, some famous place in the Europe. But all of these things, even with so many people going and spending money on food and this and that, they still are not growing. Their GDP is shrinking, everything. And that's all because they constantly have this threat of Hezbollah sometimes starting a war with, starting a problem with Israel. But Israel, to be honest, mainly doing whatever it wants to do. They tried to invade the south of Lebanon. We all saw that. So we also have, what's her name? She comes here. How can I forget her name? Love in Beirut. Dima? No. Dima is Qatar.
Diana.
Sorry, Diana, if you're listening to this. But Diana, she was here, remember? She came for our last year August event. We had an industry event. She came here to tell her side of the story from Lebanon. And she got stuck here because Israel tried to invade Lebanon. So listening to them and getting first-hand experiences and learning, Lebanon is such a nice place. It has such a high potential to grow.
It's a really nice place, Betroun. Betroun is so beautiful. It's my dream to visit it. Like, my best friend is there right now, Majid.
Nice.
And at first she couldn't travel because of what was going on with Israel, but she was like, I'm sorry, I cannot sacrifice my Lebanese summer. And mashallah, Majid, she is posting a new wedding every single day.
Nice.
Every single day there is a new couple, there's a new party that's going on. But by the way, do you know why it is actually so important for Saudi Arabians to be able to travel to Lebanon? If you guys know the Saudi billionaire Al-Walid bin Talal, who is, according to Forbes, the richest man in the Middle East, his mother is Lebanese. Her name is Muna Sulh. The Al-Sulh family is extremely famous because I remember there used to be this man, his name was Riyad Al-Sulh. He used to be a very famous statesman in Lebanon, and there are a lot of Saudi people who actually have Lebanese origins. And one of my best friends herself, her mother is Saudi and her dad is Lebanese, but they have the Saudi citizenship. And I know that more than anything, she would love to visit her home in Lebanon, but she just can't. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the country. And you guys will hear the latest updates from us. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much for tuning into the Smashy Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashy Business, and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashy Business Show, a Smashy Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our 1.6 million monthly listeners across all platforms. Please help us go to 2 million. We would love you for this, and thank you so much.
We already love you.
Yeah, we already love you. We'll love you more. And thank you so much for making this possible. And have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow on Tuesday. Bye bye.